It's Jai452 here, back inside that land of cosplay, and here's my special guest this week. It's a cosplay thing.
Hello.
Hi!
Hi.
So, we're just gonna jump right into it because God knows we've been trekking through this closet of cosplay for the past, I don't know how long. Tell me in the comments below, guys, how many episodes do we have? So, my first question to you is when did you first start cosplaying?
I started cosplaying in 2013. I was quite like avid of like dressing up and everything, and for Halloween, I always really loved Halloween, and I wanted to get into the more going to Comic Con and doing proper costumes. So for that Comic Con, I grabbed like whatever was in my wardrobe and just shoved on and went. And then when I look back at it now, I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like the wig and everything, I was like, oh no.
So, what was your first cosplay?
It was Hermione from Harry Potter.
Ah,
I had like the wand and the robe and everything, so I bought like a random wig online, and yeah, it was a bit of a disaster. Like the wig part, that was a bit, but like the costume and everything, everyone knew who I was, but the wig was just abomination.
Um, who or what inspired you to cosplay?
Ooh, God, I don't know. I don't think anyone actually inspired me to cosplay. I think I just it was more or less like friends. I had friends doing it, and then I was like, I want to get into that, and so I kind of just followed them, and that's probably how I got into it. It wasn't really like a person or thing. It was just friends that were doing it, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it too. Get on that bandwagon.
You mentioned a lot of your friends. Do they still cosplay to this
Oh.
day, or have some of them kind of left it behind?
No, majority of my friends all still do it. Like Craig and all that. You've met Craig before. He's a very avid cosplayer. Any excuse to cosplay and he's doing it. So I think that's probably part of him that I do it as well. Anytime there's like a film on at Cineworld, we'll cosplay for it or things like that. We're never out of it.
Awesome. What has been for you? What has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done, both from the making of the costume or the putting together of the costume, and from the acting side? Because one of the things that I've learned about cosplay is that there is a small degree of acting involved in it, whether it being learning how the character speaks or how they pose or how they might interact with someone. So let's talk about the putting together of the costume first. For you.
Probably Evie Fry from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It was complete leather, not real leather, fox leather. It was so heavy. There was about 500 different layers to it. Oh, it's just because Comic Cons are like boiling hot. They're not cool places. So when you have so much leather on and it's a hood and it's like really cozy and it's hot in there, you're like, okay, too hot. So probably that one. That was incredibly difficult to do with.
Those particular it's God's play thing, you're not really lying there when you say that Comic Cons are hot events. Um, in previous interviews, I have mentioned about looking at an Iron Man who was in an actual, like almost like real live kind of suit, and he just popped the face piece in the sweat that was
Yeah.
dripping off him. Um, but in regards to that, I was sitting when I seen that guy, I was sitting in a queue with two girls who were dressed like Belle and Cinderella, and they were like, "Oh, it's so hot, it's so hot," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can see that. Can totally see that when you're in a big kind of like gown, ball gown, you must get kind of
More
warm."
layers you've got on, and like especially with the ball gowns, like they're quite constricting. So when you've got constricting, hot, heavy clothes on, you get faint like. Yeah.
Um, so which one's been the most challenging cosplay that you've done from an acting point of view?
Mm, I tend not to like stay in character. There's only been a few times where I've actually stayed in character, but so I'm too busy like walking around looking at things and talking to other people. I'm not really like, hey, I'm so and so and I'm doing this. So I tend to forget. But Katniss, I did Katniss Everdeen for I think it was last year MCM Glasgow, and it was quite difficult to be her because she's quite moody. She's not a very happy person, and I'm quite a happy person, so probably her. So anytime I had to take pictures, I was like grumpy in the photos and everything.
Do you find that kind of thing really difficult? Like when you're picking a cosplay, do you tend to try and pick the ones that are very close to your own personality, or do you sometimes like go, right, okay, I'm going to do this one because I can put the costume together for that one really easily?
hmm Yeah,
Um,
I tend to I try not to stick to characters that I'm like. I kind of go for ones that I like love and I admire and everything. But there has been a few where I've been like, I'm exactly like that character, so I'm gonna cosplay them.
okay. What's a really good example of that one? Like
Um,
which?
Probably Anna from Frozen. We are one and the same. When I watched the Disney film, I was like, oh my god, it's like watching an animated version of myself. So I was like, yeah, I have to cosplay her, and it proved pretty well. Because like when you see the kids, they know who you are, so they're like, oh my god, you are her. So it was easy to like pretend to be her.
Um, you mentioned children there. Have you done any cosplays that were specifically geared towards children? I know that you mentioned Anna there, and
Yeah,
that is kind of like geared towards a child, but have you done any other cosplays that are kind of like geared?
I don't think I have. I think it's just been Anna. Um, no, I think it's just been Anna. I want to do more Disney things, but yeah, it's just been her. Nobody else.
Okay. Um, in your own opinion, what is the most difficult character or thing to cosplay as? Like overall, like if somebody said to you, "Oh, I want to cosplay, but I don't know what to cosplay as," what would be the kind of like either a character, like I said, thing that you would say, like, Don't do that. Just don't even attempt that." You know,
Maybe if you're like just starting off, I'd stay away from armor because that stuff is insane. Like I've got a few friends that wear the stuff, and I'm just completely amazed at how they make it. They do it in a week, and they're done, and they're wearing it, and they're like, "Woohoo! Look, I did all of this." Like, how did you do that? Teach me your ways. But yeah, if you're starting off, I would just stay away from anything to do with like armor buildings and all that kind of thing. If you've never sewn before, maybe stay away from that. There's nothing wrong with buying your own costume. I buy my costumes. I don't make them like that. So just anything easy, easy peasy.
um, okay, so I'm gonna change it up and ask you, what is like if you can't get five, what are the top three funniest things that you've ever seen while in cosplay?
Um, my friend Craig, he went as Loki. Well, he's been Loki a few times at Comic Con, and he just kind of steals the show. If someone's walking past, he's like, "I am Loki," and his masquerade performances are always really funny. They're pretty good to see. He's pretty good as Loki. He's the bearded Loki. That's what he's known as. That's probably always a good one to see. I saw Xenomorph one time on rollerblades rolling around a convention outside. That was pretty cool. But I don't
Wow.
know that. Like they had the mask and everything on, but they were like just rollerblading in and out. That was pretty epic. Um, I can't think of anything else. I've got probably about top two. That's about it.
A xenomorph on rollerblades, wow. Like
Yeah.
that is something I would see and be like,
Right, I know. It makes you want to do it. Like, I can't rollerblade or anything, but like, I'll try. Especially in the costume, it'd be epic.
I honestly don't know what my reaction would be to that in person. Like I'd probably like and be like, yeah, that's cool. As soon as it came anywhere near me, I'd be like, just move away from me, move away.
Standing still, and I was like, oh, look at that costume, it's so cool. And then he started moving, but he wasn't like walking or running, he was like moving quite quickly. And then I saw the rollerblades, and I was like, that is awesome.
Um, so I want to ask you, there are two types of Comic Con that you can go to.
hmm
There's the small local ones, and then there's the big once a year ones.
Yeah.
Which of the two do you prefer going to, and which out of the two would you advise somebody who is just kind of like starting to go to Comic Cons to go to?
hmm well,
Let's go with the what you would advise somebody to go to. Would you advise them to go to the big once a year ones or the smaller more common local ones?
Well, my first Comic Con was a big one. I didn't realize there was little ones, so I ended up going to a huge one and being kind of like overwhelmed. The small ones are always really good. It's just a matter of like finding them. Like if you don't live in a big city, it's quite hard to find local Comic Cons. I live outside Old Meldrum, so I'm like in a countryside kind of place. So
Hmm.
finding Comic Cons near me is quite hard until Invercon happened, which is like 10 minutes away, which is incredibly handy. So if you can go to a small Comic Con first, find one
Definitely.
relatively close by, and if not, go to a big one. I mean, I made that mistake. I just went and went, oh, okay, this is it. It's a bit too much for me right now.
Um, I was pretty much like yourself. Like my first Comic Con was Glasgow Film and Comic Con
Yeah.
last year, oddly
Mm.
enough, and it was so overwhelming to begin with because you really don't get a chance to like register with anyone. And there was quite a few people that I saw there that I'd like to like sit and talk to, not necessarily like celebrities or comic book artists or whatever, you know. There were cosplayers there that I would have loved the chance to sat down and spoke with, but I didn't really get that chance because it was like, oh, 5, maybe 10-minute conversation and then off you go kind of thing. Um, and then when I went to a kind of smaller, more local one, that was so much better because I could get the chance to sit down and talk to them. I could be like, spend the better part of maybe
Mhm.
an hour, hour and a half with them and say, "Oh, how did you put this together?" And like, could you walk me through how you did it, kind of thing. You don't really get the same at that bigger one. But sometimes a blend of the two can be good. But like yourself, I do agree and say if you can
Yeah.
find a smaller local one, it's probably better to start off with a few of them and build up to a bigger one.
Yeah, they're easier for socializing, like you said. It's kind of hard to talk to people in big ones.
Mm.
It doesn't if you have a meet, it's a bit easier, you know. Because Craig and I have posted a few Marvel meets, and it's easier to talk to people that have similar interests. They've got the same costume on. But then the smaller ones, you can go up to random people and say, "Hey, I like this. How'd you do that?" And ask them
Definitely.
questions.
Social media is such a great thing for that kind of thing because we're all friends, like myself, yourself, and Craig are all friends on Facebook. And the amount of times I log into my Facebook and I see there's like, oh, there's a Marvel meetup this weekend in Glasgow at blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. It's like 5 meetups that I've missed and 5 meetups that are scheduled.
So it's
Okay. Um, insane. But then, you know, that's a meetup for you.
yeah.
When you've been going to these Comic Con events, what is the one thing that you're most excited about?
Seeing old friends. A lot of them live in Glasgow and Edinburgh. I live in Aberdeen, like Craig. We don't get to see a lot of the people that we've made friends with down in Glasgow and Edinburgh, so it's always good to see them. That's probably the most exciting thing. That and meeting guests and stuff. I'd really like going to see guests, especially if there's like someone that from something that I absolutely love, and I'll just go and be like, ah, it's you. Can't believe you're in front of me.
On the flip side to that, what is the one thing that you find when you go to these events that is like really nerve-wracking? Or
Um,
it used to be, or kind of still is for you, I should kind of add.
Probably. I used to really not like public transport. I used to hate getting on the bus or the train or something in a costume, and you have like all the normal people that are standing. You're like, what the hell are they wearing? What are they doing? But it's now that I've like been to quite a few and I've got on transport with friends, we're all in costume. It's a laugh because sometimes like the taxi drivers are like, "What's going on today?" What? Because they lived in the place and they don't have a clue what's going on. That like random people that you walk past in the street, like, "Oh, what's going on today? What are you guys dressed as?" Which is always great when you have like the nicer people that are like,
Hmm.
"Oh, that's cool. Enjoy yourselves," and what you dressed as, that kind of thing. That's always really cool. Just not when they're kind of like giving you weird stares. I don't really like that. But I suppose you can't help it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird in that. So let's go back to as we have a Skype kind of notification here. Um, Sorry, I'm just waiting for it to disappear. So let's go back to that first Comic Con event that you went to. Um, maybe like myself, you had a little bit of a kind of like preconceived notion about the type of people that cosplay. Because when I first started cosplaying, I just assumed it was people in their maybe mid-teens to about their 30s.
Hmm.
That was like the age bracket of cosplayers.
Yeah.
Um, but I was so surprised when I went along and seen different people cosplaying, and it wasn't just the one particular age group, it was all age groups. Were you of a similar mind when you went along to your first event? Were you like, oh, it's only going to be the age group?
Yeah. I did kind of think there was going to be, I knew there was going to be quite older people because I've seen like videos, before I ever went, I saw videos of like San Diego Comic Con and there was people in their 90s going, dressing up as like characters that they used to love when they were younger and stuff. So I did have a rough idea. I was more kind of like afraid of like going, like I went as Hermione and I thought it was just a Comic Con. It was going to be like just comic book stuff and I was going to be the weirdo dressed as Hermione from Harry Potter. And then when I went, I was like pleasantly surprised to see that, oh, I'm not the only one that's not in a comic kind of character. There's random other people as well. It's not just comic books and video games and stuff. There's films and everything there too.
I think that was one of the things that really impressed me. Like my first one, there was a lot of Star Wars characters there.
Yeah.
There was so many stormtroopers. Like I've honestly like I'm gonna say this again. I've said it once before in the past, and I'm gonna say it again now. I honestly think that any staff member that is working at a Comic Con event should just be dressed as a stormtrooper.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Because, like, I don't know how many times I said to, like, my family member that was with me, I was like, I don't know, like, where a certain thing is. Um, and I didn't say it, like, very quietly or anything. I said it quite broadly. And there was always a stormtrooper nearby, and they would come up and they would just point us in the direction to where we wanted to go, kind of thing. And I did remember saying to him, honestly, these guys should just get like paid for doing this. So for the day and have them work the crowd.
Yeah, that'd be
So
pretty
much easier.
cool.
Um, but yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised that there was a wide variety of age groups there. Um, so let's talk a little bit about Comic Con itself. There is a masquerade, or it's known over here as the Cosplay Masquerade. I think over in the States it's the Cosplay March. I
Oh,
don't know. Um, so when you went into the Cosplay Masquerade, it is a competition. Um, have you ever won anything? And if so, what was running through your head when like they called up your good self?
I've never done one actually.
Oh,
No, I've done a lot of like stage stuff at school, and I went to college and did like acting and stuff. So like stage fright's never bothered me or anything. But for some reason, doing a cosplay one, like the thought of it just kind of freaks me out. I wouldn't want to do it. No, I don't think I could ever do it unless it was like quite a big group, like if it was a
mhm.
Star Wars group or something. I'd probably go up and do it. But the thought of standing there doing it myself and presenting myself with my costume or doing like a skit or something, just no, absolutely not.
I remember going up on stage my first time around in my Harley costume, and I remember when I went to register, the registrar kind of like said to me, "Do you have a skit?" And my face just kind of went blank. I was like, "I was supposed to have a skit?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, no, 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 you don't have to have one. Just do you want the mic at any point?" I was like, "No, no." And I went when I went up on stage, the adrenaline was just going for me at that point. So I went up, I did my poses and came off. And as soon as I came off and got back up into the crowd where my cousin was, I said to him, I should have done a skit. I should have done a skit. And he said to me, well, what would you have said? And I was like, I don't know, but I should have done one all the same. So I was kind of like kicking myself for it.
Yeah.
Um, but it really, I think it depends on,
Mhm.
because some characters have catchphrases which make things so much easier when you're doing a skit. so much easier. And at the time, although she had catchphrases, I don't think I could have done any of them on stage. I would have just froze, and I
Accent.
would have been like, Gordon, kind of thing. But yeah, strange. Um, so again, this is another kind of question based around Comic Con and cosplaying. In your opinion, what are the best and worst things that any cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to either go to a cosplay event or when they're prepping their cosplay to go to an event?
Um, the worst thing is probably just rush everything. Like you've got makeup, wigs, costumes to put on, so rushing about and doing that. If that's what we do. We get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning for an event that starts at 10, just to be sure that we're ready to go. Makeup, hair, clothes, everything's done. That's always a bummer. That hate it. I mean, like getting up so early is just so horrible. But like when you get everything done, you're ready on time. It's always much better. For that.
I'm planning on going to a Comic Con event next month,
Hmm.
and we just recently got in the tickets.
Yeah.
And I was actually out today before we did this interview. I had to run up to the shop, and I called up the cousin that's going with me, and I said to him, "Okay, so do you want the news? Yeah, do you want the exciting news, or do you want the exciting news?" He's like, "Well, what's the difference?" And I was like, "We've got the tickets." And then I said, the realization set in, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna have to sit down and plan how we're getting there, because not only that, we're going to have to, well, not only are we going to have to worry about transport and how much it's going to cost us, but we're going to have to be up extremely early in the morning,
Hmm.
because that event is, we got the early bird ticket, and the early bird ticket for this event is like a 9 o'clock in the morning start,
Yeah.
which if you're traveling to Glasgow, you'll be lucky if you get into Glasgow for 9 in the morning. Um, So I was literally just kind of like working it out in my head. If we were to, we're hoping to actually travel by train to
Hmm.
get there this time. Um, and I was just working out from where we live. If we were walking, we would need to have left the house by no later than about 7:15 in the morning.
Hmm.
And that's just to get to the train station. So we're like, oh my God. I even said to him, no, we're gonna have to like set aside a day where we can meet up, look at all the information to get there. And if we need to, if we are traveling by train, we're going to need to ask somebody to give us a lift to the train station, that wouldn't mind getting up that early in the
Yeah.
morning. Because it's one thing if you're driving yourself kind of thing, but if you're having to ask somebody else, you don't really like to ask them to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning, like, can you please get up and take us here? And then maybe wait with us while we're not cold. But yeah, it's
Yeah, it's the getting like prepared to actually go to Comic Con because if you book everything last minute, it's always such like a rush and everything's more expensive. So because there's more than like 4 or 5 of us that go now, we've all got like set jobs. So like I'll book the transport and somebody will book the hotel. This will all be prior to the event. So now we're kind of a bit more organized. But before it used to be, okay, we'll book it like tomorrow and the event's on the weekend, and today is Thursday. It used to be like that. It was just last minute madness. But now that we've set aside times and planning everything together, it's much, much better.
um hold on, I'm just gonna double check something here on my planner, and I'll tell you guys how long I've been planning Comic Con for,
God.
because it is a whopper. I went to Comic Con last year in August 22nd,
Mhm.
right? And I have been planning for this Comic Con since March of this year. March. Like just the beginning of March, because I knew that I wanted to go to it, and I knew that my birthday was in May, so I knew a lot of my money was coming from May.
Hmm.
So that's why I was like, okay, my birthday's in May. I started planning in March, and I've had the opportunity to let things completely go to hell, like literally go to hell, and then fix them
Yeah.
beforehand. So I'm like, phew.
We've got one
Um,
in August, and we only just decided that we're going to be going like next week. Like, oh yeah, we suppose we'll go. So yeah, our planning has kind of gone to rubbish.
I think piece of advice is even if your plans, guys, do go to rubbish, when you're planning out a Comic Con event or any kind of cosplay event, don't panic. And if you've like planned enough in advance, if something goes to hell, then it's okay. You've got plenty of time to fix it. I mean, I got really stressed out at one thing, but I was very fortunate enough that somebody else was able to come along with me, because the prior person that I had to cancel on me because they were going on holiday. And it's like, well, you could have told me like so many weeks before I was due to get the tickets. Insanity. Okay, so I do have one really good question because we covered the age difference kind of one. Um, Props.
Oh God.
Yes, the oh god moment of props. Do you make your own or do you buy them in?
I don't actually have a load of props, but the ones that I've made myself. I've made
Awesome.
for friends as well. That's the only thing I can do cosplay wise is props. Costumes and enough, just leave me alone with that, but props I can do.
So since you're a prop maker, roughly how long would you say it takes you to make a prop?
It depends like on the size and everything. I made Craig's Loki staff for him.
Hmm.
Um, that took not very long at all. It wasn't too difficult to do either, but it took about 3 or 4 days to do, so it wasn't too bad. It was relatively easy to do. I kind of just pick easy things and then
Hmm.
that's the best I can do. That's yeah, that was all right to do. I've made like oh I can't remember his name now. The guy from Rise of the Guardians, the Jack Frost. That's it.
Uh-huh.
Made his staff before. That took more time than anything else. That was about a week to do that. I've done Toriel from The Hobbit. I did her daggers. That took about a day.
Oh, wow. Do you still have them?
I don't think I do actually, because it was for a cosplay that I was going to use
Uh-huh.
while they do the cosplay. So the daggers, they're probably just like thrown upstairs somewhere.
Did you have images of them on your social media?
I can check my Facebook. I should have somewhere.
Because if you do, then obviously that will be in the link in the description of this video, guys. Click on it.
Um,
But I know a few people like because I'm involved in a tabletop role playing session,
yeah.
and I know a few people who would love, 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 love to see them.
Hmm.
So those people, if they're watching this interview, you know who you are. Um, and they will be because I'll make a point of mentioning to them. So you know who you are. Go check out the daggers. I'm sure you'll be
I will
pleasantly
hunt them down and try and find
surprised.
them. I'll see if I've got them upstairs and everything, but I don't think I do anymore. But I'll try and find pictures of them.
That's awesome.
No idea.
How long did it make you? How long did it take you with the daggers? Because
That
they're
only took.
very, very detailed. The daggers.
It took a day.
Wow.
I set aside
Seriously.
a day. I was bored and I was like, just pick a random thing to make and followed a tutorial online and it was done within the day. I bought all the stuff for it. It was relatively cheap. It was like foam board and paint and all that kind of stuff, and it was pretty easy and cheap to make.
Wow.
I just sat aside a day and just did it, and Mum kind of came in like, "What on earth are you
You're
doing?"
doing.
Scratches on the table and paint still where I left it. So she wasn't too pleased about that, but I did it, and I apologized for the mess I made. Like a little
Um,
and go do it, and I have to just do it in the kitchen.
So as a prop maker, which one has been the most challenging one for you to make?
Probably the Jack Frost staff. That was quite complicated. The start of it was just like a mop pole kind of thing, and then it came to like the actual curve. It looks a bit like a question mark,
Hmm.
so it's kind of like hard to get materials that would like bend in such a way that I've used before because I've never used like foam. Was it Warbler stuff? Is that what it's called? I think. Never.
Warbler?
Yeah, something like that. It's like the foam stuff that armor.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I've never used anything like that, so it's just kind of like, what can I use that'll bend in a way or I can cut and stuff? So I used toiletry rolls
Okay.
and just paper mache that to hell, and that was it done.
The old methods are the
Yeah,
best.
paper mache, glue, and that's it. That'll do.
We'll get you a spot on Blue Picture and you can do, here's one I made earlier. Um, Oddly enough, a lot of the people that I've interviewed that do make props for a living kind of mention, oh, Warbler is like the best thing ever. If you can get it, you should use it, kind of thing. Have you ever worked with Warbler before? And is that something that you would agree with them on?
I've never actually used it, but I'd love to get my hands on working with that kind of foam and all the stuff that people use to make armor builds with. I'd love to like try and just fiddle about with that and see if I can actually try and make something out of armor. Because like my boyfriend wants to do Boba Fett, so I'd like absolutely love to just go ahead, buy all the foam and try and attempt to make it for him. But I don't think it would really work if I don't know how to use it and everything.
Um, I think I can actually help you out there. I'm going to give you a link after we're done here to a friend of mine
Yeah.
who is actually guesting at London Comic Con, or has guested, depending on when this interview goes up, probably after that. So he has guested there,
Yeah.
um, and he might be able to help you out on that front because I know he does do a lot of really amazing cosplays, but they're kind of like handmade armor ones. So
Yeah.
I'll point you in the right direction there. Um, Okay, so props again, when you're actually using your props and you're off to a Comic Con event specifically, do you tend to go with large prop, medium sized prop, or small prop that can easily fit into handbag or pocket or whatever?
Mhm.
Um, which prop do you tend to use, or does it depend on your cosplay?
I don't think I've actually ever brought a prop that I've needed to a Comic Con. Craig, the one I made for Craig, it was quite big. That's the only kind
Hmm.
of thing that's actually been brought to a Comic Con. The other things I've just made because I wanted to have them in my room. I've never actually just brought them to a Comic Con because I've never actually done the character. I just kind of made it and went, ah, that looked cool on my wall and just kind of stick it there. But yeah, the one I made for Craig, it was pretty big, so we had to like disguise it in black bags and make sure it was all protected. So, because when you travel on the bus, like everything just breaks. So that's always a nightmare. Actually, to tell you a lie, I did bring a prop. I brought bow and arrow for Katniss. I did that. It wasn't huge, but like the arrows were about that length and they're
Uh-huh.
bendable. So taking that on a bus was a bit dodgy. I brought my glue gun with me, so it was okay.
Okay, so staying with props, I'm going to ask you when. Now, I don't haven't really had the chance to double check, but a- photo shoots normally get done with cosplayers. We always seem to think, oh, there's somebody with a camera, take pictures of me.
Yeah.
And props can sometimes be used in specific photo shoots. When you're doing a photo shoot only, not a cosplay event kind of photo shoot, do you tend to bring more props with you then, or do you just kind of like bring the same amount, or do you not bring any?
Probably more for. I've only ever had a few photo shoots, but the times that I've had them, I have brought a few things with me. I did something for Scarlet Witch. My friend Radek and Ali, they did this like thing. They gave me like baby powder to throw in the air. They took the picture. So then after it looked like baby powder just behind the screen.
Yeah.
After they edited it, it looked like the power that Scarlet Witch has coming out my hand. That was pretty cool having that because it saves. Because I tried to like fiddle around making like a light thing to go on my hand that looked like her powers, and I was like, that looks ridiculous. So having like to throw that and then making it look like it was actually coming out of my hand was pretty cool. That and Katniss, that's the only time I brought like props. If I don't really know if baby powder is a prop, but
Yeah, you could consider it a kind of prop. Like if
yeah,
you're using it, I'd consider it a prop if it's
yeah.
being used.
But apart from that,
Awesome. Um, so we're running actually quite close towards the end of this interview, and it's only been 35 minutes so far. Um, so I gotta ask, what are the top 5 moments for you in cosplay? Like things that you will always kind of keep close to you.
mhm. The first one, it was the second Comic Con I ever went to, so it was MCM Glasgow 2014, I think.
Hmm.
I went as Anna for one of the both days actually, and there was this little girl that this was when newly like Frozen was out, and it was a big hype, and it's still a big hype around. I didn't have an Elsa with me, I was just by myself with a couple of friends, and this little girl in a onesie came up and she knew exactly who I was, so we kind of made eye contact, and she just kind of stared like, you're her. She came running over, and then I had sat there for a good half an hour where they're just yapping. She's asking all these questions about like Arendelle and where's Elsa and what am I been up to? Where's Kristoff? How's Sven? Olaf? And I was like, oh no, okay, there, Elsa's fine. Arendelle's not frozen anymore. That kind of thing. But that was it was really great. She was so like happy. She's just sitting there, and she was so happy to just ask whatever question. And that was the only time that I was properly in character because I don't want to like say, "Oh, I'm not her." What are you talking about? You don't want to like crush a kid's dream. You just want to make sure that they know.
And now you know what the people at Disneyland have to put up with.
I know. I feel that was pretty. That was pretty cute. And then after that, I was like her grand. I think it was her grandmother or mum was like dragging her away. She's like, "Come on, she has to go," because I've been sitting there for hours kneeling down, and it's hot, and I'm tired, and it's near the end of the day, and she just keeps asking questions, asking questions. And I'm like, "You're cute and all, but I really need to go."
Yeah, like I need something to eat. I see people
Yeah,
walking around with candy and pies, and I really want a pie.
starving, and you keep asking questions. But no,
Yeah.
it was honestly, it really warmed my heart. It was so cute. She was just so happy, and I was like, oh, that's what I really like about Comic Con when you see like people wearing like costumes from Star Wars and stuff, and kids are like newly just been started into Star Wars, and they're seeing Darth Vader like in real life, and they're like, oh, do I go over because he's a big dark lord, or do I just stay away? But then when you see him and he comes over and you're like, hey, how are you? And it's just Darth Vader being nice, which is kind of bizarre.
Um, all those kind of situations always make me kind of smile as well. Like it's so difficult not to like go around Comic Con with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
So difficult. Which is why I feel really sorry for those people who dress up as really grumpy characters and they have to go around
Yeah.
on their face. And I just remember going to Glasgow Film and Comic Con last year, and I seen this guy who was dressed as oh, what was it they were dressed as? I think it was like Jack Skellington,
Mm.
and he was trying to keep this like stern face on him, and somebody like told a really funny joke, and there was like so many people laughing, and you could just tell that his facial expression, he was like trying not to smile, he was like, and it was just breaking, and I was like, you're gonna laugh, I just know it, just laugh, even just a snicker, like crouch in and snigger. But oh my gosh, it's so weird. Okay, so before we ask the last question, I want to ask you what are 3 cosplays, 2 that you're definitely going to do this year, and 1 that's a maybe.
Ooh, hold on. I had a picture ready for this one, so I was.
Ah, okay.
Oh God, I always update my cosplay page of like people I want to do and then
Hmm.
be like, I'll never do it. I'll forget. Don't think I'll do any more cosplays this year because they're expensive. So I think the last few that I've done so far, I'll just reuse them for the last like few Comic Cons I've got until next year. I'd love to do Supergirl from the new TV show.
Ah,
I'm
the Melissa Benson
yeah,
version.
so obsessed with her. She's so great. So I was like, okay, I'll do her at one point. We'll see. Maybe next year. Liv Moore from iZombie.
Oh, another TV show I watch.
Yes. I was like, are you a zombie? Because your hair is awful. You know. Yeah, I'd love to do her. So I've got Supergirl and Liv. I think I'd definitely do Liv next year. Definitely. I don't know about
Lab
Supergirl.
is such an easy cosplay to do. Like, I love those, like, a lot of cosplays that I've done. Like, I've done Harley, like, three
Yeah.
or four different versions of Harley, oddly enough. And while those cosplays are fun, they're very sometimes difficult to put together. Somebody asked me if I would do Max from Life is Strange
Mhm.
and do a dual play with them as Chloe. And I thought, oh, thank God. A cosplay that is so simplistic to put together because it literally is just a pink t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and a grey hoodie. And I'm good to go. You
Yeah.
know, so I could literally like turn up wearing what I wear the rest of the week, and nobody would know. Um, and Lev is a very similar character in that respect. She is a very not like overly high fashionable character or really difficult to put together costume. All you need is a kind of like blonde-ish wig and a
Lab
nice, yeah,
from
lab coat even, and you're good to go.
brains, and there we go.
Brains.
I think
Yeah.
everyone will clock who I am, but that's what I'm kind of doing with Hermione. I'm doing Hermione again, but I'm not doing like a school uniform thing. I'm just doing like the Deathly Hallows one, where it's
Mhm.
just literally like a jean jacket, a pink jumper, sorry, and a wand, and it's so simple because sometimes I can't be bothered buying like big expensive things, and if I just look at my wardrobe, I'm like, you know what, these colors are okay. They kind of like people will know who I am.
I definitely, I would definitely love to see how your Supergirl one turns out because I'm such a fan of the show as well, and I'm so glad that they're making the move to the CW now.
I'm so excited.
Um, Kind of sad that we're losing Calista Flockhart, but
Mm,
we're getting more characters in, so it's probably a nice transition as well.
yeah, I'm excited.
Um,
That's gonna be so good.
I know. So, who is your last cosplay? The maybe cosplay, or
Oh,
one that you're thinking of?
I've got two. I've got Houtsman from the new Ghostbusters movie.
Uh-huh.
Not a lot of people enjoyed that movie, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good. And Houtsman is just absolutely hilarious, and she's so good and funny. And I was like, no, I'm gonna do her at some point because I end up watching things. I'll watch something for about 10 minutes. I'm like, I like that character. Watches like that's what kind of did with Supergirl. I watched one episode, loved Supergirl, got a bit obsessed with it, binged watched the whole thing, and I was like, I'm gonna cosplay her.
Well,
And
I can honestly say I have not seen the new Ghostbusters movie
yeah.
because I didn't like all the stigma that's been
Hmm.
attached to it. I just thought, mm-mm, not
Hmm.
gonna happen.
Yeah. But honestly, it was so so good. It is definitely worth the watch. It's not.
I have heard like good stuff
Yeah.
about it as well. It's just like I don't like the idea of the stigma because some
Yeah.
people are saying, oh, the original Ghostbusters movie was like all sexist because it had little to no women in it, and I'm like, Janine Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Need I say more to the women, to the most prominent females in the films?
Mhm.
Okay,
Fans.
I know.
And
So your
Chell,
other one?
Chell from Portal 2. Chell. I never know how to pronounce her name.
Ah.
I think it's Chell.
Mm-hmm.
I'd definitely like to do her because I recently started playing it again, so I kind of forgot how much like I really loved Portal. I was like, oh, that was only recently added that, but like every time I'll just watch something and I'll forget about it, and then I'll go and like watch it a year later and then think, oh no, I've got myself in that hole again, and I end up going a bit too deep and getting the costume and then cosplaying her once and then forgetting about it. I need to just stop watching things because the minute I watch something, I'm like, mm-mm. Oh no, that
I
character.
want to do that character.
A couple of episodes. Oh, I love her. Got to do it. Got to cosplay her.
So, my last question for you before we do the Passover, where you get the opportunity to tell us where we can get a hold of you if we have any further questions. But while I'm saying that, guys, don't forget that you can put questions. I think, do you see a comments bar down there? Down in the YouTube section, there's a comments bar. Put in a comment, and either myself or Cosplay Thing will hopefully reply to your comment. Also, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up because we need them thumbs.
Awesome thumb.
And if you're actually watching on watching on the YouTube channel and not on iGame on Live or on Facebook, please make sure to subscribe to my channel to be alerted to whenever I put up a new Inside Cosplay episode. So my last question for you, my dear, is what advice would you give to anybody who would like to start to cosplay but is unsure where to start?
Well, kind of like how I started, I watched, like I said, about 500 times. I watch one little thing and then I'm like, ooh, that character, gonna do it. That's probably the easiest thing to do. If you think about things that you love, like I love Harry Potter and Hermione's my favorite character, so that's how I kind of got into being her. So if you just find something that you really, really love, it's a game or a film, comic, doesn't matter. Pick a character that you love and then just do it. Just go crazy. It doesn't matter how complicated it is, just go crazy.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. That is a really good piece of advice. And now it is Cosplay Thing's opportunity to tell us where can we get a hold of you if we have any further questions.
I have a Facebook cosplay page. It's a cosplay thing. I have a group with Craig and my friend Megan and Ryan. It's called Granite City Avengers. There's nothing much that's been posted lately, but we're trying to like form a group that we can do charity events for and visit kids in hospitals and everything like that. We want to try and do things like that because we're always in Aberdeen. We enjoy cosplay. We love making people happy, so we want to go do something like that. That's probably the only two places you'll find me. I've got Twitter and Instagram, but I'm not
You're
very
busy.
interested there.
Well, don't worry, guys, because there will be links to both of these pages down in the description of this video, so make sure to check them out. Also, don't forget to check them out for the Tariel daggers that we were talking about, as well as the other props that she might have pictures of on her Facebook page as well. And don't forget to have a look at iGame Online for a multitude of different things where you can catch up with me doing the weekly podcast with the other members, the wonderful Wispa, Zelly, Lee, Jade, and Georgia Kitty, or listen to our map sessions and see what the hell we're getting up to in Middle Earth, and what's going on down there. And if you want to hear us talk about more about Supergirl, iZombie, Gotham, um,
Walking Dead, fuck,
yeah, just
nothing else.
any other TV show, don't forget to tune into the TV Drop with my good self and BBS and a multitude of other guests. We just recently, I think, wrapped our session on iZombie, oddly enough, season 2. So do go along and have a listen to that. Hopefully, we'll have one coming up with Supernatural and I think Lucifer, another DC TV show. Um, and then we'll be talking about movies the week after that. So if you do want to get involved in that, please put a message in at iGame for us. So until then, I'd like to say thank you to It's a Cosplay Thing for taking the time out and spending it with us. And I'll be back with another interview really soon, guys. Bye.